Hey, Folk Studio here, and I'm going to talk to you guys about bushes. Now, there's lots of bushes in League of Legends. The brush is a scary part of the game, and I want to just go ahead and talk about the first 5 or 10 minutes of a game in the top lane and how the bush matters. Now, I want to ask you a question. When do you check brush? When is it a good idea to actually go into a bush and see what's in there? Sometimes you can use wards, sometimes you can use skills like Maokai Sapling, Ashe's Hawkshot, but you don't always have these characters. Wards can actually be risky in themselves. If they have someone like Annie, for example, in a bush, and she's level 6 and trying to kill you, it does not matter that you put a ward there if she sees you put the ward there. So, wards are not even the best option. But, when do you want to go ahead, peek your head into that bush, go full on in, be like, hey guys, what's up? Because it is a scary thing to do. So, I know a lot of you will say, well, almost never. I never want to be in a bush. I want to be in a bush when I have all the information saying I will be A-okay. Now, you don't get that information often. If you do get that information, you're probably going to win the game, and you probably don't need to go into many bushes. But, when do you go ahead and actually go into that bush? So, top lane, blue side. Let's say you're playing anybody. That brush in the top lane, it's closer to the blue side, it can be terrifying. What happens is, because it's closer to blue side, someone can come in when you're pretty much at any point in the lane except at your tower, and they can try and gank you. If they have some sort of gap closing ability, like Maokai's Rue, even Mundo's Cleaver can land from that brush, you might die, just because they're near you, they will catch you, you'll be slowed, you'll be CC'd, and you can die. When do you want to check that bush, and when do you want to do when you can't check that bush? Okay, let's assume you can't check that bush. Let's assume that the creep wave is pushed up. If you go into the bush, you'll take a bunch of harass, and you might die. Or you don't know what's in the bush. So, in the case that you're scared about actually checking the bush because you'll take harass, then just don't get near it. To be in a position where you try and CS as much as you can safely. But until you know where their jungler is, for example, you might die. And you'll see this happen really often, where in the top lane there'll be these two really good players fighting, and one guy will be pushed up, purple will be pushed into blue, or red into blue, on colorblind mode, and whoever is being pushed in will not CS. They know they can go ahead, maybe pick up 1 or 2 CS at the lane where the minions meet, but what if they get ganked? If they don't have a ward there, which you don't early on 90% of the time, then there's a big risk there. And don't take risks. Now that might sound kind of weird, but you want to play safely as much as you can. Because taking risks, it can be awesome, it can be super fun, and just for a normal game, it is incredibly fulfilling to take a big old risk and actually have it pay off. But when you're playing, in a tournament game or in a higher game, you can get punished for many risks. So that bush, if you don't know what's in there and you can't check, stay the hell away. Now, when do you check that bush? Well, let's go ahead. Let's make this scenario a bit more visible. Let's say you're playing Olaf in the top lane. Olaf's escapes are his slow, and eventually his ult, but you're level 1. It's 2 minutes in the game. So, you're scared their jungler might come and gank you, and what are you going to do about that? Something you see happen very often is the jungler will, not the jungler, but Olaf will actually go into the bush. He will go into that blue side bush, try not to push out too hard, preferably get pushed in, and until he's in a position where being in that bush gets scary, so if he's either not getting CS or B, the lane is so pushed in that he's actually caught out from his tower and he would have to go through a creep wave to get there and he could take a bunch of harass. Until you're in that position, you just kind of go back and forth between the bush, CS, bush, CS, bush, and preferably you're not pushing up at all. So the reason for that is, when you're in that bush, you have perfect knowledge. It's like having a ward there. The problem is, you're in the bush, and you're limited to that bush region if you want to go ahead and keep that vision. So, you're at the 2-minute mark. You're scared that they have a Mundo and they can gank then. So what you see happen really often is, they'll check for 10 or so seconds, because they know Mundo only has a limited time to gank. If he spends too much time in the top lane, he'll actually fall behind himself. And this is where timings come into play. And timings are weird. You can guess timings. I can go ahead and say, alright, go ahead, play as a Mumu, do blue through red without a leash, and see how long it takes to get to the top lane to gank, as purple side. And you can come back with the time, sure, But this isn't StarCraft. Timings aren't static. Doing something like blue buff, for example, can be incredibly easy. It can take forever. If you're someone like Amumu and the allied team for Amumu, I was gonna say the enemy team, but then that doesn't make any sense. But let's say you're Amumu, and your team helps you kill blue super fast, kill wolves super fast. You take no damage. You're at full HP. You sweep through wraiths. You sweep through red. So it might take you, I don't know, 50 seconds, just random number, to get through all that. You're at the top lane by the 3-minute mark. You're level 3. You have bandage toss. You can gank. What if you don't get any help? What if you get nothing and you started with a regrowth pendant and a health pot? You get to red buff. You're like, you know what? I need to skip this till later. Just get another level. I can gank at level 4. So timings are weird because they're not necessarily set in stone. They're not going to happen. You can make guesses, but that may not be reliable. So let's say you think Amundo will come at the 2-minute mark. What if he started at blue buff and comes at the 2-minute 50-second mark? Comes at the 3-minute mark. You want to try and get as much knowledge as you can. So what you'll see people do is they'll duck in and out, because the jungler could come at any point. The second you see that jungler is somewhere else because of a ward, they'll just lane normally until they feel they have to go back into that defensive stance. Now, you'll notice something, especially in pro games. CLG does this. I've seen AAA do this. CLG EU actually was for that. They will invade, but specifically to put down a ward in a certain part of the map. And the reason for that is usually we'll cover wraiths, and the reason for that is because they know that wraiths are really easy to do. Most junglers want to just pick them up as much as possible because they're great gold, great experience for very little HP or time. So they'll keep track of that, and they'll play with the timings based off wraiths. And it's weird to say this. They're trying to get as much knowledge as they can with as little investment as possible. So in this case, they're putting one ward into one bush that will only track 1, maybe 2 creep camps. You might catch the tail end of red with some of the wards. Generally, you won't. So why do they do that? Well, like I said, they can come from blue buff, they can come from red buff, they can come from so many different places. If you know they're at one spot, you know they're at that spot. You know they're not somewhere else in the map. You know that if they're coming to gank you, they have to come from that spot to you. So when you check that bush, you check that bush when you actually know it's safe. You check that bush when you feel that the jungler won't be in that bush, when you won't be there for a gank. And what do you actually scout with that bush? You scout to see when they're coming into it, when it will be risky, when it will be scary. And it's weird to say that. The only time it's safe to check a bush is when there's no danger. And the only time you actually want to check a bush is, to see if there's danger. So you check it when there is no danger to make sure that when the danger comes, you know about it and you can back up appropriately. That's what wards do. They sit in a bush. You see someone coming, you go, oh, they're coming, I can back off, be safe now, be defensive. Do this. And how long has this gone on? Oh, we're at the 8-minute mark. This was just a short, so it's all I have time for now. I hope you enjoyed it. It might have been a bit ranty. I will try and focus these down if you guys like that, but this is just me talking about bushes for a bit. Yeah. Adios, folks.